how come you are not like aiming for condo?
It's so expensive.
Obviously, okay.
Okay, so welcome back to another episode of the Backholder Pod. I think one very important topic that is close to many Singaporeans' heart, especially as the election is drawing near, is really the idea of residential real estate and property prices in general. So actually in 2024, I think the private residential price index grew at a slower pace of 3.9%, but still, I think it's coming off from a very high base with a lot of both exogenous factors and multiple things that are leading up to this climb. So I think just to understand, actually in 2025, the Singapore property market continue, I guess, soaring in a way. It had a roaring start with one of the most anticipated launches in the town area called Toa Payoh. It's called the Orie. So if you've been curious, I think just to cite a few numbers that was released by CDL itself. So I think as of 6 p.m. of the first, I think, date that it was launched, I think 668 units of the 777 project, which is 86%. It was sold at an average selling price of around $2,700 per square foot. So just to give you an appreciation for those of you who haven't been following the property prices. So the apartment prices, let's say for a one bedroom plus study, around 517 square feet, it's going at around 1.28 million. And I think if you look at a 2-3 bedroom, around the 592 to 850 square feet, they are going to between 1.5 to around 2.1 million. So I think we just wanted to extend the discussion, also tap into the knowledge of a few of them that are currently probably going to go into some upgrades. Maybe you get Kelvin to comment first on your perspective on this whole Orie launch, and what do you think of this very strong performance?
I'm not upgrading. I think it's Eric's going to be upgrading. Yeah, let me pull up some data. I think this Orie launch, I don't know, like
Oh, Kelvin, you're muted.
On mute.
so at launch 86% was sold at what 2,700 per square feet. Then when I check like the surrounding condo, oh shit, need to change screen. See how change. Wait. So, then when I look at the surrounding condo, so the surrounding this is Orie, this part, Orie. Then the surrounding condo is Trevista and Gem Residence. Oh, it doesn't change.
Why cannot just share the full screen? I think can, right? It's a
Yeah.
setting.
Cannot lah.
Okay, so Gem Residence is like 1,009 square feet, average lah, sales price back then, I think. So then this is, Gem Residence is 1,009 per square feet. Trevista is 1,008 per square feet. Then Orie suddenly it becomes 2,007 per square feet. So it's like, the newer condo is like, I don't know, at least 30% higher than its neighboring condos lah. Why? This is the part that I'm very curious about. Like, why is it more expensive? Like, is it because of the higher demand? So the other thing I went to check is like the sales of the neighboring condos lah. So this is the Gem Residence sales. So this, okay, you focus on this column, the middle one, the fourth column. These are all the Gem Residence price. They're all transacting only about like 2,000 per square feet. So then when you look at Travista sales, it's also around that 2,000 per square feet. So it's not like as though the neighboring condos are sold at 2,000 per square feet, but Orie can achieve this kind of pricing. I guess Singaporean, they just love very new condos, and they're like, oh, I want to pay extra 30% because no one has these walls before. Okay, like other than other Singaporeans to touch these walls. So it's a very new condo, so I want to pay premium price for it. And the problem with paying premium price for this kind of condo is like, how long do you need to wait before you can break even? I think, so for Gem Residence, there was one unprofitable sales. Okay, but he sold 2 years ago. So he made a loss of about negative 139K over 5 years lah. So he bought 2018, he sold 2022. So he lost about 139K. Travis, not so much. So I don't know. That's the very weird thing. I guess Singaporeans, they like to FOMO to this kind of condo launch and try to like profit off it. But when you're buying at this kind of crazy price, I don't know how much can you profit for it. How long can you hold? Is this market continue to going up over the next 3 years? Because TOP is going to end after 3 years, so this is the thing that I'm very curious about.
Actually, maybe I can chime in, right? Eric, I wanted to ask you, are you aware of like the harmonization, not harmonization? That's why I think there is a difference in terms of how they calculate the per square foot, if you don't mind sharing.
I think not not a very huge difference. The harmonization basically just means that hold on, suddenly my screen blank. The harmonization means that they don't count the aircon latch non-livable area. Yeah, so basically, I think if I'm not wrong, right, the percentage is about 5%. Yeah, of the space. So your like aircon latch and all these things, right, is non-livable. So they don't count that in your
So meaning to say, even if we take the difference, it shouldn't be such a 20,
difference.
30% jump
No.
in the difference lah. Okay.
So I think if I'm not wrong, right, even if you take the new launch, all this harmonization thing, right, then you just calculate backwards. The prices are not that different from like the previous quarter. Like it's quite similar. I think before the Orie, right, the new launch RCR was doing like 2006, 2007. Yeah, so pretty much not much difference. It's just that I think the headline grabber was like it hit 3,000 for the like I think very maybe small unit or something. Yeah, so the pricing is a bit higher, and then maybe it's high floor. Then every floor is like increased by about $10,000. Yeah, so that could be the reason. I think Toa Payoh, Braddell, that area, right, is quite similar to East Coast area, District 15. So they quite high in demand. Like Singaporeans, they perpetually love those areas. I don't know, like they just love it. Yeah.
I maybe can share a few points that are extracted from an article from Stacked Home lah. Basically, their analysis on why Orie was such a strong demand. Firstly, I think because of the few recent launches. Actually, I previously, when I was younger, I stayed in Toa Payoh area. It's considered a matured estate, and they haven't seen any condo launches in nearly a decade. So I think it might be a pent up demand. People, I don't know whether they don't like HDB, but I stayed in a HDB in Toa Payoh lah. But because of that scarcity, I think the comparison there has very little benchmark. Secondly, I think like Eric said, it's a so-called strategic location. It's near, I think, one or two good primary schools, and then you have a lot of transport hub. Toa Payoh HDB hub is there. Bishan, yeah, I think it's quite near. If I'm not wrong, Raffles or Hwa Chong, it's in the Bishan Ang Mo Kio area. Then I think there is a few things as well in terms of pricing and competitiveness. Like he said, also it's near some of the other new launches. That's why there is a lot of people. It appeals to people that are upgrading and also people that wants to move back to into that area lah. And I guess in general, it's compared to other matured estates. I think Toa Payoh might be one of the better choices. So I think considering these points, right, Boon Tee, do you have any comments on this 2007 PSF going for this area?
Yeah, I think my immediate reaction is like, wow, so expensive. So if you look at those square feet, right, I think the interesting part is that this project that have those like larger units, right? So for example, they have the 1,216 square feet unit, but it is selling close to $3 million. Right? I'm thinking like among average Singaporean household, right? Even if you are upgrading, how many people can afford this kind of prices? But apparently I was wrong now because judging from how much they are able to sell on day one, right? Is that there are a lot of demands for this kind of projects. But I do still think that it doesn't make sense. And one more thing is like I survey around, right, asking my friends, see who are interested with this kind of project. I think right now the cooling measure is still the one that is like, stopping people from buying. Because whenever people look at all these prices, right, even if it's like 2 million, 2.5 millions, I think generally speaking, people still have the money for especially for those who really buy this for investment. It's just that when we talk about like need to pay extra, I don't know, like 15% of all those ABSD, right? Then people is like kind of like take a step back to say, oh, I'm not willing to pay this kind of stamp duty. So I don't know. I think right now, right, what can stop this optimism, right, is really just cooling measures. And there's also news that all these cooling measures may be stepping up, right? So I don't know. I think we need some of these measures. If not, the house price continue to go out like crazy. Not healthy, I think.
Why do you think it's not healthy? But if salary all increase in lockstep, Singapore economy continue developing well, I think it's
That's the
normal, right?
questions. That's the question. Like, are the wages going up as much as all these property prices?
So
Yeah.
so in actual fact, the assumption here you are making is you don't believe in demand supply, because if too much, right, then the property developer cannot sell, right? They still have to slash prices because they need to avoid those regulations of paying a penalty, right? So if you allow for market demand to play it out, then they will match to a point where they can kind of find, because we are talking about private property here, right? You're not talking
Yeah.
about HDB.
Yeah.
So in a way, how do you square that?
Yeah, I
logic?
think on the demand side, I think definitely it's there. I don't know whether is it because Singapore there are too many immigrants. I don't know all these statistics, but my guess is that okay, the demand is there. There are more people here, people earning good incomes. I think those are the good sign. But the problem is that why the supply side is like kind of like slow, right? Because if imagine that this kind of condo you keep on coming up with this kind of condo like every month, right? For sure there will be a point where okay there are too much supply and then the price get a bit more normalized now. But right now based on what I observe is that I think the supply side I don't hear a lot of supplies. I mean this is like a handful of projects like what you all just mentioned, right? This is the first project in Toa Payoh after so many years, right? Then what happened? I think Singapore is not like Singapore lack of lands. Actually there are still plenty of lands available, but it's just that there are not many developments. I think this is maybe it's like controlled by government. I don't know.
But you haven't answered my question though. Meaning you don't believe in market supply and demand working its way lah. Because if
No. I think it's like this. Now market is working its things. The supply demand is there. The prices is so high because demand is more than supply. I'm asking like why the supply isn't keeping up with the demand. So there are some, things happening behind the scene that I don't know the full details. I think the government may be controlling the land sales to the property developers. That's why the prices keep going up. Because if you continue to have tons of supply, right, then I think it's good for everyone that wanted to buy a condo and you can buy it at a more reasonable price. To me, buying 3 million unit, right, $3 million for unit that is just 1,200 square feet, right, to me is crazy price now. It's too much.
Right. On a side note as well, this project is actually also considered a luxury condo lah. But I think last part also for Eric, you haven't comment or opine on this new launch. Are you because you're also queuing, right? You're getting a number for another new launch, like you're not going for Orie. So in not to dox you, but just to see your perspective now as a new home buyer or going into the market participating in this whole competition. What's your thoughts?
What's my thoughts? I actually think that this demand is probably all the way back from COVID when there was a backlog. And then you know that once you stop building, right, the demand builds up. Like, I mean, no pun intended, but the demand builds up while the buildings are not building. So in that 1-2 years, right, that the demand build up, then after that you resume the building. So you're only able to clear the backlog demand part of it. So now we're still trying to clear all the backlog demand. I don't think that government is withholding land sale. I think if you look at the data, right, they have been releasing. In fact, I think slightly more land for the past 2 years. I think 2023 they released quite a bit of land. So I don't think it's to do with the land sales, but also I don't think it's very prudent for the government to like just flood the market, like just throw out all the land. Then all the large developers then they cope this thing and then they can control the price. So I think government is right to slowly like release a little bit more and then see how the demand goes, because ultimately, right, they want stability in price. Whether is it flat line or is it gradually increasing, they don't want like big fluctuations. So I think the main point is you tweak the supply slowly and then manage the increase. So far I think like what Chiking has shared, right, I think Singaporeans and to a certain extent some PR, they are able to kind of sustain this kind of prices. You can see the demand still strong. So I believe that maybe there is some merit to some of the research that was done, like the per household, their income is increasing quite healthily. So that's why and I think that the increase in CPF contribution might also have a little bit to do with the increase in prices, because now that Singaporeans have like a bit more contribution to their CPF, those earning like more than 5,000, 6,000, then they suddenly see that the employer side added a bit more, and then they are able to use that to get the housing that they want. So I think logically you should see housing go up like these few years with the increase in CPF contributions, like logically.
But 5,000, 6,000, even if one person, both 6,000, 12K, right?
Yeah.
Cannot buy condo. As in, I think it's too stretched. Lah. But I think I also wanted to ask Eric one question, right? Like, so now they sell at 2007. And I think for a lot of people, the mindset is probably going to make money. Lah. As in, you buy the Singapore real estate, it's one of the most prime real estate in the entire world. And you always see that prices will probably appreciate to I don't know by how many percent. But if you think about it, 2007, so means when you want to exit, you take a 20% increment, that's 3,002. You take a 30% increment, that's 3,005 per square feet. Then when you start to count, like let's say a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, the prices start to push to $3 to $4 million in. I don't know what's the expectations here, but maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, with this continuous appreciation, right? What's your expectations? Do you think that it will continue sustaining that for the entire Singapore real estate market?
I think over the long term, there probably will be some pullback when global economy takes a hit as per normal. But I think just based on inflation alone, like 2-3% every year, you should see that over a period of like 10 years, property prices probably could go up like easily 30%, just based on inflation alone, without any any significant changes in supply and demand side. Yeah, so I think slow and steady it will keep going up. Yeah, and that's what we are seeing in the prices.
But speaking about all this supply side, right? The lands, right? I think it's the right thing to do actually if the government actually allocate more lands for HDB development instead of to all these private developers, because there are essentially two markets, right? So one is the HDB. If they allocate more, there's more HDB launches. People can buy their first homes, and I mean the HDB market is quite straightforward, right? Every household only can buy one unit. It's not a free market on the HDB side now. I think that's the one that government is trying to encourage and promote instead of like the ones that get bid up to the sky, right? Which is the private property. But this private property, I would say, is really a game for the rich. If you are just average income, average household, I think just focus on HDB is enough. That's my take.
Kelvin, any concluding thoughts?
No, actually for Boon Tee, how come you are not like aiming for condo?
It's so expensive.
Obviously, you have the income to support it, right?
No lah, cannot lah. You look at 3 millions. Okay, let's say if just because I want to upgrade to condo, then I need to downsize my unit, right? Because the one that I currently staying is 1,100 square feet. So it's a 5 bedrooms HDB, right? If I so-called upgrade to a 600 square feet condo land, my lifestyle will be even worse, like not enough space.
Boon Tee is being humble. He can afford more than a 600 square feet.
Well, yeah, 100, 600, 3 million, right?
No, I think, no, because if I'm not wrong, I heard it somewhere that based on a very easy or simple calculation is that for every 1,000 in income, you can borrow around 100,000 loan. So if let's say you have 20K monthly income, you can borrow 2 million and then you take up just nice, you have a portfolio of 1 million, that's 3 million, you can upgrade to
doesn't make sense, this one. Really, I think it doesn't make sense. The price is too high and then you are getting a very small unit. So I think it doesn't make sense. Like you also don't want all your assets to be concentrated in just one unit, right? And let's say if you say, okay, I buy this, imagine that the rental yield is 6%. You buy a 3 million unit and then you generate 6% yield on that 3 million. Then I think still okay, provided that you know that place 100% you are able to rent out, right? Then to me, it's a good investment. But if you buy a house, 3 million, you stay inside it, you are essentially renting the unit to yourself. And are you willing to pay $7,000, $8,000 rental? For me, I'm not willing to pay that kind of money. So don't know what's the game we are playing. Are we playing for the capital appreciations or what? Because to me, it's like it's really an asset, but it's asset that let you tell people that you're rich. Oh, I'm staying condo, I'm rich. It's a SES game rather than there's a tangible value to it.
I disagree a bit. I think ultimately, right, the condition here or the assumption here is that because Boon Tee don't trust enough that Singapore property confirm go up. Because if you really have the innate fervent belief, right, then you confirm went up. Because to you, it'll be risk-free, right? Like a lot of the discussions now is that Singapore property line just goes one direction only. Like it doesn't come down. So you just don't believe in this theory. That's why you're not going all in. Compared to
I don't think the price will come down. That's not my base assumption. I think it will either stay or continue to go up. Likely to be continue to go up. It's just that at current price, right? Like you buy an asset, you want that asset to generate some utility. So for some people, the utility is just that, oh, they stay into it. They have kids, they want the nearby school and so on. So they are happy to stay in it, right? So they derive utility from there. To me, that utility is worth, could be, 7,000, 8,000, depending on the which unit that you bought, the price that you paid, right? But I'm just not willing to pay this kind of, monthly rental, even if it's to myself also. I don't, because you are generating, don't know what, you're wasting that capital essentially, even
No,
though it is going up. Yeah,
it's just DCA, what dollar cost averaging into your condo mah?
don't want, not a good investment, I think. That's my personal view.
You mean your Nvidia can give higher returns lah?
Of course.
Didn't Kelvin shoot other people already? Then what about you?
Me too expensive lah, cannot lah. But I don't know, like for Eric, his strategy is a bit different, right? It's for EC. EC, it feels like more 保价, right? Because there's the slightly cheaper cost. Then once it MOP, you can technically sell for a profit, right?
No, mine is for own stay, not so much for profit and all that. If I wanted to like do a flip, right, I probably should go for a condo. Yeah.
Is it?
And I just sell this one, and then my wife buy a small one. I buy a big one. We stay in the big one, rent out the small one. Yeah.
Can I know why are you not doing that? What, your perspective on doing that sell one by two?
I think like what Boon Tee say, right? We don't want to overstretch. Of course, we can do it, but don't want to do it because there are also risks involved. Like you never know when something might happen to your job, when something might happen to your health. Or what we don't know what's going to happen. So you want to have some buffer. Like I know quite a number of friends who, I won't say quite a number, a few friends they go in with the mentality that, oh, I buy a 2-bedder or 3-bedder, right? And then I just tahan for 3 years. Then before the thing can TOP, right? Then quickly sell. Flip the thing. Because the thing is, before they TOP, right, you don't have to pay the full mortgage. So you just need to cough out the down payment and make sure you are able to tahan until like somewhere near the TOP. Where you hit the 3 years mark, right? Then you don't have the seller stamp duty. Then you go for the quick, like 100 plus thousand profit. So your investment is just your down payment and your initial, like the piling, whatever construction that you paid lah, your kind of early mortgage. So it's not that xiong actually. I think if you can cough out the initial, yeah, then
What's the like profit percent that you are looking at?
actually I don't think it's that high. I think the calculated one, right, with all the fees already thrown in, probably about 5 to 6%. 5 to 6, because
On your capital?
yeah, on the one that you actually paid out, because the
Isn't that like a bit higher than SSP only?
6%. 6%.
Like,
I think quite significant though. I mean, SSV you can only stop at 200K ma.
okay, then
If
why
you,
not just go like DBS Bank, 5% dividend plus capital gain?
don't know. I think it's a different game lah, different risk reward, and then property is leverage game lah.
You just take margin by DBS lah. Okay, DBS maybe cannot. You best buy something similar like like US Bank.
US bank, I don't know. You can try. We'll
Just
we'll see in 3 years.
okay.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what people are doing, I guess. The couples are decoupling, and then you have like foreigners coming in to buy, especially those very high net worth. They don't care about the 60% or whatever percent foreigners, the stamp duty. They just whack, because to them a few $1,000,000 is like nothing. So they whack lah. They just buy the condos. That's why you see the condos pricing wow, nuts. Yeah, recent years. But I mean, that's just supply and demand. But yeah, so I think for common folks, we still can go for HDB. Should still be doable.
So long story short, Eric.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kelvin.
Yeah, so when I look at just now the 2 condos, right, they have stats on it. I can share also. Wait. So the people who are buying the neighboring condos last time, most of it actually consists of Singaporean. they are mostly 61% HDB upgraders. This is the Travis. 73% buyer, 73% Singaporean, 50% HDB. So it's not like foreigners who are mostly buying. It's mostly like HDB upgraders. So it's just Singaporean who have gotten rich lah, and then they just want to upgrade.
HDB also went up quite a bit. Oh, yeah, I can see HDB selling for 1 million plus already. The newer ones are.
Which is helping with the down payment lah, for them to upgrade.
Yeah, lor. So
Essentially.
the biggest hurdle is actually just the down payment, ma. So you can meet the down payment, then plus all your CPF accumulated. Yeah, so I think should be able to do a condo lah. I think 2 million plus. I think for couples nowadays, yeah, mid 30s. I think it's very doable. If you look at the numbers. It's just that Boon Tee doesn't want. If not, he easily.
No, I don't like trophy.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, with that in mind,
Oh yeah,
sorry.
Stan, just now Eric brought something very interesting. So like for all these HDB, people can buy HDB now. It's because of all the grants, all the subsidies, right? So I'm also very curious, why is the government not taking back all these subsidies when they sell the HDB?
They're trying.
Are there? No, they are just taking it for like what's that? The more
Prime,
atas
prime.
HDB. Yeah, prime, right?
Yeah, the
But
prime.
why not just take back for all the HDBs? Like, doesn't this penalize more? I don't know what's the correct word. It is not equal distribution to Singaporeans in a way.
If you see, right, this is like to help the people who didn't start off with very good income. Like government help you subsidize your buying, right, of your first property. Then after that, you stay there for 10 years, you appreciate, then you get the capital increase. Government doesn't claw back the grant given to you, because the grant initially was to help you. It's like a scholarship kind of thing. So you can quote see as an incentive for Singaporeans, or hidden kind of subsidy for housing. Yeah, so it's to kind of, I don't know, can you put it this way, level the playing field. If you didn't start off from a very rich family, you can still use the government assistance to kind of play at a higher field. Yeah, instead of government clawing everything back from you, right, then they inclusive of all the accrued interest, everything claw back from you, so that you never upgrade, you stay in the you always stay in the like HDB and all that, right? So they also want to like kind of
So
help.
if that's the case, isn't it better to do like CDC voucher, right? I give 100K CDC voucher to everyone. Not everyone, maybe based on household income.
Yeah.
I'll just give. Then you don't want to buy, you can keep the money. Then use it to pay off your loan. You want to buy? Okay, you can use it.
Cannot. You have to buy. The
Yeah,
grants
so-
cannot be given to people who don't want to buy. Like
So I
just
feel
give
like
you-
this is part of the problem, right? People I don't know, is the correct word abusing? They are sort of using this thing, use all the grants, buy, upgrade to a condo. Then I'm the one who is causing all this property price to go up. Because without this grant, they can't even get the first step to go to the next step, ma. So for people who upgrade, right, probably they don't even need it in the first place.
No, at the start they need it, ma. It's
Then after
only
that, they don't need it, ma. So-
yeah. After that, they earn more income. Then okay lah. I mean, it's by their own merit, right? They earn more, and then they are able to sell for a good profit. Why are we penalizing people for that? For going up the corporate ladder and doing better for themselves, and then want to upgrade. There are people who choose not to upgrade also. Then they
yeah,
just
then those no need to claw back.
What?
Those no need to claw back. Those who can upgrade, they're better off, ma. So they can claw back.
Very strange, like
That-
like government want to penalize you for doing well. Like Chiking, right? 10 years later, he earning like
No, actually,
you-
I think what Kelvin is saying is they want to penalize you if you want to change the asset. So even if you're doing well, but you don't want to change your asset, then okay lah. I think that's what he's trying to say, like to stop this crazy increase in prices because they're all recycling their
That's
capital.
the assumption that the government wants to stop you from increasing. Like you want to go from HDB to condo, you are thinking that government frowns on this, which I don't think they frown on it lah, because it's like majority of the condo buyers are like HDB upgraders. So in fact, I think they are okay with it. Like that's my feel lah. If they are not okay, they very easily can come up with things to penalize you. Don't need to claw this back. So I think that they are okay. Like that's my feel lah. Like in fact, they are happy that you aspire to get better property and all that, because that will also mean that you become a better worker for longer. So it's good for the economy, it's good for the country, it's good for the stability. Why do they want to penalize you for doing that? Like if
No,
there's
I feel it's like they are just patching, like programming, they are just patching bugs here and there. Because like HDB right in the start is just to give affordable housing. It's not to become asset for you to profit off.
Actually, no leh. I think LKY got say
Yeah.
before that is retirement asset. It's designed to keep going up so that Singaporeans at the end of their lifespan they can go
Yeah.
downgrade and then have money to support their lifestyle. So it's actually designed that way.
But it's done at someone's expense, right? At the expense of the future generation and at the expense of other taxpayers.
That's when all the grants came in. You heard of new couples, like because they cannot afford, then therefore they cannot buy HDB? Like you just name me one couple that really cannot do it. Cannot,
Boon
right?
Tee.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So on an adjacent note, right, this discussion about clawing back, right, also because I mean the whole Eric is on the upgrading path. I'm going to the BTO route. Maybe I can shed some light on what I see on the whole clawback thing. Actually, the idea of clawback, right, is not necessarily because the government don't want you to. This is my interpretation. Can be right or wrong. But it's up to you to make the analysis yourself. But why they started clawing back only prime area HDB is because the subsidy they levy on all these HDBs are a lot higher. So that's why they needed to claw back. Give you an example. The other time when they didn't claw back and when they haven't created this prime structure, right? You know that the most expensive HDB, I believe now is in Dawson or like it's in the town area. Back then there was no prime. They were selling. I was looking up. The BTO exercise was 2009. They TOP at around 2014, 2015. They were selling the HDB 5-room flat back then was around starting from 500 all the way up to 600 plus. So 500, 600 plus, and then you see you recounted in the last 2-3 years, they sold at around 1.4, 1.5. So that's basically tripling their capital, their initial amount that they bought for BTO. But then when you compare it to like all the other places like Woodlands, Punggol, wherever that you buy, any other places in Singapore, usually maximum they go 1.5 to 2x. Meaning, let's say you buy a 400,000 4-room, 5-room, usually it will go to 800k. So that's the amount that you play with, right? So it's just that this so-called prime area HDB, they become freak incidents where you suddenly can triple your capital. Then everybody that know this, then they coin it the lottery effect. That's why now they need to, yes, they need to keep it affordable because they don't want they don't want like rich people to stay in one area and then poor people to stay in another area. So they want to mix people, they'll make it affordable. So they levy a lot more subsidy, but yet at the same time they claw back 7, 8, 9. I presume that this number of percentage will continuously increase now because I've seen that from 6%, it really increased to 9. Next time it'll be 12, 15, whatever amount it is. But they have to balance it based on the income level. So that's why there's this clawback. It's not necessarily to take away the subsidy. They still want to give you the scholarship. They still want to give you that starting capital to do what you need to do in the housing market. But it's just that they don't want people to feel very unfair because the perspective is, walao, you're so lucky you get a Dawson HDB. Then I swear I only can get a Woodlands HDB. So I only can earn 300, 400,000. You can earn 1 million from the same 500,000 capital. So that is the why there is this balancing perspective. And of course, with Prime now, they do the 10-year and whatever. They're just trying to slow down activity. They're not trying to stop you from getting subsidy. They just don't want you to keep going in to have those activity to move up the prices like to let you speculate until too fast. So that's just perspective lah. Yeah. So with that, I don't know whether y'all have any concluding thoughts from this. No? Okay. So yeah, with that in mind, please feel free to leave in the comments. Maybe you can convince Boon Tee on why he should upgrade. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.
Fun staying poor.